Hey, what's going on? E. Jones, bottom to the top hoops.
Your boy Black Elvis, we in the building.
Yo, big shout out to T-Mobile and L. We got a new sponsor on board for the bottom to the top hoops podcast. Shout them out, L.
Fine Food Cuisine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big shout out to Al and Slice, man. Supporting us, holding us down. Get over there ASAP right on Morris Park Avenue. 718-822-1991. Make sure you check them out.
Best food in the Bronx. Al's the best chef in the Bronx.
Yes, sir. That takeout. Y'all remember Al from over the Sin City days for all the peoples who know. Those sticky things, sticky icky. What do you think about Adam Silver passing the rule for no marijuana testing?
Well, first things first, let's call it as we supposed to call it, which is the truth. Adam Silver has stepped in and done a phenomenal job taking over for David Stern. Let's just start there. Just his transparency, how he's operating, and you can just see he has a great team around him. So I want to give him his props. But now let's get to the question. Let me answer the question. Mm-hmm. I think that was a great move on his part. For one, people might not know, but I think, this is my opinion, I think some of these guys smoke. Maybe he knew that. So he already said, well, you know what? The season's cut short. Let me not drug these guys. Let them just get back to business.
Well, there's two things that are at play. Number one, there's a challenge because of the COVID. Can you have fans? Can you not have fans? You talk about Toronto moving to Tampa. There's all kind of stuff happening. And if that's going to add one more thing to create an obstacle, let me take that obstacle away and just give the players some peace of mind. If there are guys who smoke, I'm not here to pass judgment on what they do or don't do. But maybe he's saying maybe that might give them a peace of mind and put them more in a comfort zone and not have them on pins and needles. And let me just throw them that bone and say, dag, man, this dude really is thinking about us to say, let me burn one down because we had a long day of practice. I don't know what the mindset is. I don't smoke. I don't know, right? So, again, I just felt like that was a judgment call. I don't know if it was the right call, but I know that it was done with great thought. And I think at the end of the day, it will work itself out because he had the players' best interest in mind as opposed to just ruling with an iron hand and saying this is the way you're going to do it. It speaks to a team effort and it speaks to a collective bargaining agreement, which it's supposed to be.
Yes, definitely.
So shifting to college basketball, who you like, man? Who have you seen? What have you seen with the game and how do you – I'm hearing mixed things about what people are seeing with the games itself and the talent level.
Well, at the end of the day, we know that it's still early and everybody's just trying to get an opportunity to gel because they haven't been getting a lot of practice time. And you can kind of see it, like Troy beating who they beat, Duke the other day. And, there was another upset. Who else got upset? Kentucky lost.
Yeah, Kentucky lost to Richmond. No, Troy didn't beat Duke. But Duke did lose. I believe they lost to Eastern Michigan or something like that.
That's just a sign showing you that, they're not really gelling yet. They're just getting it together.
Right. So the lack of practice time, players being quarantined or injured, because that's the one thing that I'm really watching and I'm nervous about because people haven't had the proper time to go through a full preseason and off season. That there are going to be a high level of injuries where you see guys getting hurt and even potential draft picks losing out on money, which I'm quite surprised that some players didn't opt out of the season, because some football players will do that. I'm not going to training. I'm not going to any post-draft camps, or I'm not going to play in the college bowls, for instance, because they feel like they're going to mess up their money. So I think basketball is a little bit of a different animal. So what I've seen so far is I like what the New York guys are doing, as we alluded to, the R.J. Davises, the Posh Alexanders, the Julian Champagnes, specifically my guy getting to it, James Bouknight over at UConn. Isaiah Washington had 17 in his first outing, even though they wound up getting handled by Loyola Marymount. But the New York guys are repping, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're definitely repping.
So we have some movement in high school, Al.
Absolutely. Khalil Brantley went from, what was that, boys and girls
yep.
to was he at a school out of town?
Yeah, he went to the Skills Factory for a brief period.
And then they shut down.
On campus, but he definitely committed to them.
And then they shut down, right?
No, they're still active. They're still active.
Okay.
I guess he it was a big point of emphasis for him to be in New York City. His dad, big shout out to my man, Coach Worldwide Shah. He made it an emphasis that he wanted his son to be here in New York. He's a New York kid, and the opportunity presented itself to become be a part of the Our Savior Lutheran program and be on that grind session. And that's a big deal. That's a big deal. What do you think about that pickup?
I think it's a great pickup for OSL. And just as far as what they're doing, as far as a program, getting these kids these Division I scholarships and, sending these kids to college for free, man, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so now he's got big shoes to fill.
Yeah, hey, Posh Alexander laid it down. So
and you've seen that the team is still trying to find their way early, and Khalil being just recently added, it'll be interesting to see if he provides that leadership and that intensity that the team needs, because you could see they're in dire need for somebody to kind of step up and fill that role as a point guard and as a leader.
Absolutely.
So lastly, if we could ping pong back, L, about the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at free agency, and the obvious things have happened, right? You talk about, LeBron signing a 2-year deal, AD getting $190 million, and all of those things. And then there was one blockbuster I thought that kind of shook things up, which was unexpected. What was your thoughts on that Russell Westbrook for John Wall trade?
That was a great trade.
For who?
The Wizards.
Okay. How so?
One of the reasons why I say that is I think after this year, everybody's going to see how hard it is to play with James Harden. When you have a player who constantly demands the ball, but more importantly, he lets the ball stick. That's what I used to call it. Never let the ball stick. Bounce, bounce, bounce. If you don't got to move the ball. The ball moves faster than a man. And his style of play is constantly dribbling the ball and making his move. But in the process of that, everybody's standing around. And, it's hard to play ball with somebody who's constantly letting the ball stick. And you standing there, you like, don't let him hit 2 in a row. He's shooting the next 2. So I really believe that was a great trade for the Wizards because there's a knock on Westbrook because of his, how aggressive he is and how he plays. People don't think he's a good teammate. And he done really went from team to team. So now this is a perfect opportunity for Westbrook to go there and show who he is as a player.
And stay healthy.
And stay healthy.
And at the end of the day, this is the one opportunity Russell Westbrook is going to have to play with a counterpart who doesn't dominate the ball. Bradley Beal is an efficient player who predominantly, he mixes it up, but, his strong suit is his ability to make shots. And, Russell Westbrook, he averages a triple-double, so he's proven to be a willing passer. It's now, can he lead? Can he make his style fit into what they do. Because I feel like wherever Russell Westbrook is gone, he said, yo, take me or leave me. This is how I am. But I think the one thing that kind of goes unnoticed is Russell Westbrook wasn't used to playing Houston style.
Mm.
And he found a way to be effective in that style because he was the guy in OKC
Yeah.
once KD left. So now it's kind of a 1 and 1A with Bradley Beal. I think they're kind of their star status. They're on the borderline of being a superstar. I think they're very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be interesting to see if he can get back to that triple-double form. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, what do you think the cohesiveness of John Wall, who operates with the ball in his hand a lot, similar to a Chris Paul, who had a hard time getting in along with Harden on the court? How's that going to work?
I think just because Wall's coming back, he's not going to have really a problem deferring a little bit, compared to just being like fresh off a hot season and having momentum and rolling. It's kind of hard to want to like defer and fall back, but.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, and it's like, how long are you able to do that?
That's the thing.
There might be a shelf life with James Harden. Like, you could take it for a year or two, and then you just kind of like, man, like, I'm a point guard. I think that's the big deal. Like, he's a point guard because he does assist the basketball. But he just, that style of basketball, like you said, sticking, a ball stop, lack of ball movement and player movement. I don't necessarily, as a player, need to shoot the ball. I just need to be able to touch the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I'm going to just say this. Some of it probably had to do with D'Antoni's style. So there's a new coach. I mean, James Harden didn't play this way at Arizona State. He didn't play this way when he was with the Thunder.
Okay.
So obviously he can play another way, but they let him get into his mix, and boy, oh boy, he's a walking mixtape.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Dude.
How do you feel about the big 7-foot at Howard? Do you think he's going to open the door for a lot of other high-level kids to go to HBCUs? You think that's possible?
I'm going to give you my truth. I'm hopeful. But I think if you watch the game of basketball in society, it's a lot of things that are fads. George Floyd, everybody's Black Lives Matter, everybody's protesting, then it dies down. Everybody was pro-Black, and you've seen kids literally grabbing attention from saying, I'm considering an HBCU, right? Because that was the thing to do. So they brought attention to it, which is great. One kid actually made the move and said, yo, I'm going to commit to it. So I think that has some opportunity behind it. But do I think it'll be a push towards kids really considering it, high-level kids? There has to be some other groundwork laid for that to happen on a higher level because, there's a lot of influence with sneaker companies and boosters and AAU for that to happen at a high level. So with the bulk of the kids who play at the high level in NCAA being African-American and in the NBA, you'd have to have a raised level of consciousness, some AAU people who have an agenda behind it and put some business planning towards how that would be beneficial to the people who control basketball.
Got it.
It's a little bigger than what's on the surface, but I'm hopeful. Does that answer the question?
Pretty much.
Okay. I wanted to just shift for a second and just go back to the NBA with respect to how people view the free agency and the stuff that they see and the stuff that people don't pay attention to. I'm sure you've coached a long time and you've talked to kids about intangibles, role players, everybody having a significant contribution, being a great team player, being a great teammate. And I think sometimes I think a lot of the times what gets glorified is the people who put the ball in the basket. The MVP, the person who's standing with the trophy at the end of the day, right? And the seventh man who the team can't win without, nobody really talks about that guy or girl. But the coach knows the value of that person because they got a 4.0, they keep the team GPA up, they're on time for everything, they've been in the program for 4 years, and they show everybody how this program is supposed to be run. So they're a part of the culture that allows you to create other kids. And when you bring somebody on a college visit and you send them with that kid, you know your school is going to be well represented and we got a good shot because this kid is going to show them what we're about, right? Because the dude who's a star, he don't really want to host nobody on the visit. Like, yo, we got a game at 7 tonight. I don't want to be, you know what I mean? So I got a list here, L, and I just want to go over it if I could. To just talk about some guys who have done well for themselves and, some to which people don't even know their names. Jeremy Grant signed with the Pistons, had a great playoff with the Nuggets in the bubble. 3 years, $60 million. Joe Harris, who was a G League guy, a knockdown shooter with the Nets. A couple of seasons ago, he was the NBA leader in three-point percentage. 4 years, $75 million. Trey Burke, on the outskirts of the league, resurfaced himself in the bubble, signed a 3-year deal with the Mavericks. Jordan Clarkson, a journeyman, started off with the Lakers, never met a shot he didn't like. 4 years, $52 million because of what he did with Utah in the playoffs. Marcus Morris, re-signed with the Clippers. He was doing work with the Knicks. 4 years, $64 million. Javon Carter, hard-nosed player from West Virginia. 3 years, $11 million. Caldwell Pope, 3-and-D guy, right? Couldn't have won the chip without him with the Lakers. Took on the other team's best player. 3 years, $40 million. Rondo, in his, 13th year in the league, showed himself to be who he is, playoff Rondo. 2 years, $50 million with the Hawks. And lastly, DJ Augustine signed with the Bucks, who are now championship contenders, 3 years, $21 million. Hell, these are not household names, bro. These are kids who was getting it out the mud, who may have been an All-American, had a subpar NBA career, maybe took a dip, maybe was out the league, had 1 foot out the door, trying to hold on. These guys have secured, at minimum, nobody on this list got less than a 2-year deal, and the minimum contract was $11 million. I'd say role players are pretty important. And of this list, guess what, L? I'm looking at the list. No starters, L. What does that say, man? What?
Well, it lets you know that, everybody doesn't have to be a superstar in order to really get paid playing professional basketball. And it goes back to what you said, role players. If you have a complete team, you have to have people who's going to play different roles. The Bulls, that's probably been the best team that I've ever seen assembled. If you didn't have Rodman with the mentality that he had, I don't think it would have made the Bulls run as spectacular as it was. Because he focused there, that opened it up for Mike, that opened it up for Pippen. Because now, instead of me being able to contest, I know I got to look for Rodman and put a body on him. That's opening it up for other players. And that goes to show you how, if you can perfect your role, how you actually make your teammates better.
And you create value for yourself. I look at my dad is a big Boston Celtics fan. Big shout out to my dad, and how he would talk about the teamwork, and you look at Larry Bird, the poster child for the NBA, right? Larry, Magic, and Doc brought the NBA back, but nobody talked about Robert Parrish. Nobody really gave love to Kevin McHale. Nobody talked about Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson, ML Carr, Cornbread Maxwell. These guys was sure enough studs, but they sacrificed for the betterment of the team. And they had their, McHale's a Hall of Famer. They've had their just due. But, Bird was the dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to tell you, especially.
And they all, and no one had a problem with that.
No egos, man. Check your ego at the door. This is about winning. That's the culture that Red Auerbach and the Celtics created. And I know my dad is somewhere smiling that we're talking about the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
But to that point, L, be a star in your role and understand if you do something better than a lot of people, there's a value in that, and you can get benefit, paid, upward mobility in work, or whatever the case may be. Star in your role instead of just trying to be a star.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's going to be an opportunity for you to be a star, but you got to know when that is, and got to know when you got to play a role.
Yeah.
So, L, man, we got to give some shout outs, man. We got to show some love, brother. Big shout out again. Fine Food Cuisine, our sponsor. Big shout out to T-Mobile. Big shout out to the team, City Legends, Jerry Ice, D Jones, everybody holding us down, man. Who you shouting out, Al? What you got going?
Shout out to Off the Grid. We working.
Yes, sir.
We'll be dropping that real soon. High school football show. Focus on the up and coming talent of high school football players. We felt that there was a need in New York City for us to create some type of platform, because everything is geared towards basketball and baseball here. Mm-hmm. Football is not a priority here. Definitely want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, T-Mobile. Big shout out to Fine Food Cuisine. Big shout out, man. Food's amazing. Shout out to Al over there. Shout out to Slice. They doing good things, man. Takeout food. Check them out.
For sure.
E, man, you already know, man. When I end it off, shout out to the man upstairs. You already know.
Peace.
Yeah.